I'm Chris Nagy, Director of your Personal Wellness Center. In addition to that, I'm also an orthopedic surgeon. I've invested a good deal of time and effort studying nutrition, health, and wellness overall, and actually looking at medicine from a different angle than what we typically look at it. A lot of the treatments I use are non-pharmaceutical, but are based on what's found in nature. In addition to running the wellness practice, I also have a weight loss program that I'm involved with. And much of it runs parallel to what John has been doing in his diet, which is a whole foods-based diet, essentially copying nature. I've found that the more we copy nature, the safer and healthier we're all going to be. The more of a whole foods-based diet that we adopt, the better. The more we can get away from some of the synthetic chemicals, the hormones, the pesticides, all the toxicities that we face in our lives, the better off we'll be. John has realized his own cure, essentially, by changing the things that he did day in and day out. And this is not about adopting a certain diet, it's about developing a lifestyle. And a lifestyle based on fundamental principles of health and wellness. The more that we look, research, and learn, the better off we'll be. John's done that for himself, and he's offering that to others in the community who are interested. He's a perfect demonstration of what you can do to change your life for the better. We have to look in the mirror and face up to the facts and change whatever's led us to the point we are at in our lives now. I think John's a good example of that, and so you can be too. So if you would like to find out more how your personal wellness center can help you, or at least help guide you in the right direction, please feel free to contact me at the email address on the screen. Well, John, looking over your lab results here, I must say they look good. And you know, what I'd really like to know is what have you done to get your lab results in such a good range?
Well, Doctor, 2 years ago, I had a colonoscopy. I was having some really bad medical things happen to me. And the surgeon who did it gave me a report, said I had ulcerative colitis. I had no idea what ulcerative colitis was or what it did to you or anything. But I know I was really getting sick. And then the last day of '07, I was in the hospital and I had a lot of bad things happening to me. I was passing blood. My fever was, 104, 105. They were giving me morphine for pain. I didn't know really whether I was going to live. I mean, I really felt bad and I hurt all over. And they were giving me x-rays, MRIs with contrast, and they all confirmed that I had ulcerative colitis. And so anyway, my general practitioner told me, said, John, if you want to get out of the hospital, you have to exercise, you have to walk. I was tied down, I had the pole, had IVs in me.
Can't go anywhere.
I couldn't go anywhere, but when I got my strength up a little bit, I was able to start walking the halls with my pole and the IVs and everything in me. I was in the hospital for about a week. And then for a month, I went back to work, and for a month, I had this terrible pain in my side. I could stand up. I had a hard time sitting down because it put so much pressure on my colon. My colon had swollen up twice its normal size.
Right, that's ulcerative colitis.
And one day I was working and water was just pouring off of me, and all of a sudden I was back in the hospital again for another week. And I had this strange thing happen to me that I questioned myself and I questioned doctors and ministers. This apparition came to me and told me that you can't stop it now, and I had 2 years to live. And I was just sitting there. I couldn't move. I could see the parking deck. I could see people walking by. And this thing came, it just came as a black cloud and just disappeared. And it made me wonder. And it made me question myself and question others. And so I questioned myself and other people and for a whole year. And then I looked around and saw my friends that had gaining weight around their stomachs. The visceral fat is what I call it.
That's right. That's what it's called.
Okay, well,
visceral
that's great.
Fat. Most dangerous, one of the most dangerous kinds.
Right. And so then I looked at the apparition and said, well, okay, I've got one more year. I'm going to have to make a change. I'm going to have to do something. And there were 3 parts to my making this change. I had a friend that I offered a job to, and he couldn't take the job. And hey, it looked like Bro Ives. I mean, bald-headed, goatee.
He looked like Burl Ives?
He looked like Bro Ives, and a great big belly. And I questioned about diabetes. I said, and he had diabetes. And I said, look, I can promise you 2 things. That if it's type 2 diabetes, basically, from what I've read, that losing weight is the best thing for you.
That's right.
And I said, I can promise you 2 things, that I can grow hair, because my hair was always real short, and I can lose weight. And I promise you, I got mad. I said, I can do this. I can promise you it can be done. And I made up this diet. I didn't read any books. I just found foods that I thought would be helpful, and it worked. And I was losing a pound a day. And on weekends, I would kind of halfway do the diet. But during the week, I would stick to it. I'd eat certain foods at certain times. Because when I got out of the hospital from that year's time, I gained all my weight back. When I got out of the hospital, I weighed 162 pounds, down from 190. And then, look, I was doing the same type of work, and I was gaining weight. So exercise wasn't the way. It's the diet. And I said, voila, it's the diet. So that's why these things changed. I mean, I used to have terrible blood pressure. I don't know what my cholesterol was, but these things happened. And now, you know, that right now I'm in my body of when I was 13 years old. And I'll be 67 in August. How many times did that happen to people? A lot of weird things have happened to me. I've got more energy. My stress level is a lot better. I can do things. I got more flexibility. My ulcerative colitis is gone now because of my diet. I've never heard of that happening.
Right.
My arthritis is gone. My heel spurs are gone. I can't explain it. What can you tell me?
Well, I tell you, I mean, a lot of good things happen when you eat the right foods. You know, our whole well-being, health and wellness are based on our diet. You know, and you mentioned it previously. You can't really exercise all your weight away. You have to walk 35 miles to lose a pound. And most people who try to exercise their weight away, that exercise drives their hunger mechanism. And then they eat more or they feel entitled. The basis and foundation of our health is our diet. And that's something, unfortunately, that we've gotten so far away from in America that's why we now have the obesity problem that we have. And it's getting worse. You know, you mentioned the diabetes, type 2 diabetes. That's an epidemic, and it's poised to get worse and worse. If you look at the geographic maps about how obesity has grown in this country year after year after year, now every state in the union has over a 20% rate of obesity, except Colorado, which is 19.8%. So, you know, they're 0.2, and actually when those statistics were obtained, they're probably 20% now. So you have found, through your own methods, what is the foundation of health, which is proper diet.
Well, you know, I've never eaten the foods that I have in my diet before. I just knew they were good for me for some reason, but I just never did it. They were never attractive to me. And when, like I said, I got this rage inside me I've got to do this. I've got to prove it can be done. And it was so easy. I just can't believe it. It's like falling off a log. It just hits you so hard that I can't believe these things are happening to me. And I just came back from the beach, and I've been to the beach 4 times this spring. I do work for some people down there, and I was able to do it. But when I walk the beach or when I run the beach, 1/3 of the men look like Bro Ives.
Oh, sure.
And then I looked at just the other day, and like 1/3 of the men needed to wear bras. I mean, they had bigger breasts than the women do.
Well, there's a reason for that. The more obese you become, the more belly fat you have, the more your body makes estrogen. And actually, not just makes estrogen, but converts your testosterone to estrogen. So the more central obesity you have, the more likely you're going to develop breasts because of all the estrogen. I mean, as a man in our society, we're in trouble. because we live in a very estrogenic world. All the chemicals, the fertilizers, the hormones that are used in the food that we eat for livestock. All of those things produce estrogen. Men's testosterone levels have dropped sequentially, decade by decade. And with more obesity comes more estrogen and less testosterone.
Well, you know,
I'm sure you've probably noticed some of those changes as you've dropped weight.
Right. I mean, you know.
Not to be explicit, but.
Right, yeah. Well, you know that when I was a young teenager, you know, you'd wake up at night and have an erection or whatever, and it would wake you up.
Right.
And I would never thought at 67 that I would be in that type of situation.
Right.
That hey, it's like you've been given a whole new world to live in, and a whole new body, and you have so much more energy. You have, and you can do. I can run faster than I could run in high school. I mean, it feels like there's wings of Mercury on my feet. I just can't believe the things that I can do now. My sense of balance, my muscle power, my arms. It just has muscle. It's no more like body fat. It's like I don't have any body fat.
Right. Well, your body's not. You know, now that you've obtained an ideal weight for yourself, your body doesn't have to spend all this extra energy managing the extra load that you were carrying around. You know, the reason you got your ulcerative colitis, most likely, is because of the amount of inflammation in your body. Glucose, sugar, increases inflammation. The more inflammation you have, the more your body's in a constantly stressed state trying to fight it off. And ultimately, you'll come down with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, lupus, Sjogren's syndrome, rheumatoid arthritis. It's inflammation. The more whole type foods that you eat, the more you eat what nature gave you, the more you'll decrease your inflammatory levels. You know, if you want to lead a long, healthy life, two things: control your inflammation and control your insulin levels. And by eating a more restricted calorie diet, you're doing both. The only studies, scientific studies, that have been demonstrated to produce longevity or calorie restriction. You know, eating 70% calories less than what we typically eat. We don't need to eat all the food that we eat. And I think you'd probably agree with that.
Right.
We eat as a matter of tradition and culture, and not necessarily a matter of hunger anymore.
Right. Well, you know that I went back and I was looking at pictures of my grandfathers, you know, and maybe it's our culture or the culture of the times. And I looked at their pictures and they were portly. And at the time, portly meant that you were able to support for your families. That means you had enough money, you had food there, and it meant that you could take care of yourself and your family. And, you know, and it looks like to me that we have to change the way our society thinks. That, you know, that's not the way, that's not the healthy way. Both of my grandfathers died at an early age. And it's probably from coronary heart disease. I don't know what they called it then.
Sure.
But this probably wasn't coronary heart. You know, he died of a heart attack or he died of a stroke. Mm-hmm. You know, they don't talk about the high cholesterol levels. You know, and when I got my report back from the lab, it said one of my cholesterol levels was HDL.
HDL.
Had an H on it. And so
that worried you, didn't it?
Well, I called my daughter's an anesthesiologist, and she's a very learned woman. And so I called her. I said, "What does this mean?" She says, "Daddy, that is really good."
Right. You want to have a high HDL.
And so I read off some other things. Said, "Daddy, that is good. That is good." Mm-hmm. You know, most Americans would die to have levels like that. I had no earthly idea that these things would happen to me. But it's so exciting. It's kind of like I was telling you the last time. Look, it's like all the blood vessels going to my brain are working. Mm-hmm. It's like there's no plaque, there's no cholesterol there, that every synapse is being bathed in the blood or whatever, so it can fully oxygenated. And so it's a wow feeling that it just makes you come alive.
Right. Well, you know, unfortunately in America, I think we've fallen prey to the thought that health comes in a pill or powder or a potion. And that is not true. I mean, I have patients come to the office who have diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and you ask them if they have any medical problems. No, I don't. And then their wife speaks up. Well, you know, you're on a cholesterol medicine and a blood pressure medicine and diabetic medicine. See, people think that if they're on their medicines that their disease is taken care of. And unfortunately, like with cholesterol issues, people think I can have these fries and this donut because I'm on a statin. And that's really not the way it works, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's like covering up the manure.
Right.
It's still there and it still smells. You just got it covered up a little bit.
I mean, you hear about the miracles of modern medicine, and so we're all lulled into this belief that we can do anything in medicine, but we can't. You know, people essentially have to take accountability for themselves.
Right.
They have to learn and they have to do what's right. And the problem is, the term I often use is analysis paralysis. There's so much junk out there, people just give up and say, oh, I'm just going to McDonald's. And that's the wrong move. You know, with a little extra effort, as in your case, you can find what you need to do and what works for you. Because ultimately, you shouldn't be on a diet. You should be on a lifestyle.
Right. I tell people, look, the diet that I made up it's a new way of life. You have to look at it as a new lifestyle.
Right.
You have to give up the old to accept the new. Mm-hmm. And your new, you have unbelievable highs. You will feel so much better.
It's hard for people to see that, though, until they can feel it.
You have to get there. I said, please go on a journey with me. It's a journey.
Right.
And it's a journey that will really make you feel great. But a lot of people have given up and said, well, you know, I'm 40 years old, I'm 50 years old, I'm supposed to get fat, and my joints are supposed to feel bad. Look, all these things happen to me. I can do things I couldn't do when I was 20 years old. I had no clue these things would happen to me. You know?
Well, obesity is contagious. I mean, studies have demonstrated that. If you have friends that are obese, it's fine to be obese because your friends are obese or your family. It's not contagious as in a virus or a bacteria, but it's accepted and it's not looked upon as something that anybody can do anything about, unfortunately.
Well, you know that you wouldn't believe the number of times I've been ridiculed by people that I know because of the weight I've lost. Oh, you look too thin. Well, I mean, yeah, okay.
You look too thin to me because I'm an American and we're all fat.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I've had a friend of mine came back from Europe and he says, John, we can tell the Americans, everybody they waddle when they walk.
Right. You go to a European country and you can pick an American out.
Yeah, you can pick
easily.
Americans out. And so, I mean, what a bad commentary. I mean, it's like we have all the food, we have to eat it. We can't share it with anyone, or you can't put some back for the next day. We have to eat it all right now. And so, you know, that it just bothers me. I don't understand why people, if you're a Christian, you say your body is God's temple. Well, boy, people are really abusing God's temple, aren't they?
Well, we've lost sight of what an ideal height-weight ratio is. You know, if you're actually at your ideal height-weight ratio, people will tell you you're too skinny because they don't know what a normal person looks like anymore, unfortunately. It's kind of sad. I mean, people will ridicule, look at you, you're rail thin, you need to put some weight on that frame of yours. Well, really? Because I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life and I feel great. Oh, you need to gain 20 pounds. That's America.
I know, and that's what really bothers me, that people don't realize how you feel and how much healthier you are. My son he taught school and he couldn't stand it anymore. I taught for 31 years and I was a guidance counselor and a teacher. And anyway, he's gone to sell insurance and he said, Dad, I want to sell some more insurance. And so I got $250,000 worth of insurance, and with my blood test and everything, it was going to be $177 a month for 15 years. All right. Then they sent my medical records and found out I had ulcerative colitis, which is a killer of a disease.
Right.
And they want to charge me, okay, we'll sell you the same insurance, but it's going to be $500 plus a month. Well, my daughter set up the colonoscopy for me down in Wilmington, where she's a doctor down there. And the doctor says, I don't know what you've done. There are no signs that you ever had this disease. It has, we don't know where it's gone, and the insurance thing came back, okay, I pay $176 a month now.
Right.
So being healthy like that, wow, not only can you make your life, you can make your pocketbook a lot fatter because you're not having to work so hard to pay the extra money because of your sorry lifestyle.
Well, yeah, you cured yourself through your diet and your lifestyle, which all of us have the ability to do. But sometimes I think people don't really want to look in the mirror and take accountability for what the issue is. You know, you can say, I can't lose weight, or I've tried, that doesn't work for me. But there's something out there that will work for everybody. And it's a matter of finding, getting the right information and following that path. And, I can't say that the physicians are perfect either. If you look at some of the physicians, they're probably the last person you want to be asking for nutritional advice sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, people know that.
I know.
We don't spend a lot of time in school on nutrition.
Right.
But really, the first question that many of our patients should be asked with all these medical problems, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, what are you eating? What are you eating? Because that plays such a huge role in our overall health.
Well, it's almost like I was telling somebody that the perfect murder is to feed your husband and keep feeding him and feeding him. And hey, it doesn't take long to that cholesterol level's up there, and just you're totally unhealthy. And I had another doctor was telling me that like 132 diseases or that go along with obesity that can kill people.
Yes.
And I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I can't understand why people would want to eat themselves to death.
Well, I think some of it's lack of knowledge, though. It's acceptance of this is the way it is. But I think the more people, fortunately, people are becoming more attuned to these topics. They're reading more, they're learning more. The internet's opened up a whole new area of education for people. Unfortunately, though, it's not that people want to be obese, but the way the food supply has been manipulated and changed, the chemicals that are used in our foods, the hormones, the antibiotics used in our livestock, all those things impact us also.
Well, in talking with a lot of people and dealing with my diet plan and stuff, I would ask questions of people, and kind of what I found out is that they equate food with love. Mother gave us the food because she loves us. And you have to eat it all. If you love her, you have to eat it all. And so then you get in that habit of, okay, food is love. Love is food. And you just keep doing it and you keep gaining weight. But there's a point where you're not burning the calories like you used to. You're getting older.
Your metabolism slows down.
Your metabolism slows down. My metabolism, I have no idea what it is, but I don't need...
It's higher than it was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, it is.
I guarantee you.
And hey, look, I am more efficient. I can, like I said, I can do things that I couldn't do when I was 20 years old. And that my body looks totally different. It's never looked this. I mean, it looks good to me. Some people say, well, it looks hideous because you're too thin.
You're too skinny.
You're too skinny. And my other doctor says, John, you're at the perfect health of where you're supposed to be. The American weight charts are skewed to accept fat.
Yes, you're right.
And,
you're right. Oh, it's in my genes.
Yeah, your genes. Yeah, your genes can't get any.
Your genes determine 20 to 30% of what happens to you in your life. 70% of that's determined by the choices you make.
Right. And you can say that some people can't get in their genes.
Well, many. Yeah.
I know. So
they make special stretch genes.
Yeah, they make stretch genes. So. But it was so simple for me to do this. I mean, it's like my apparition that came to me.
Right.
It's like it may be divine something. I never ate these foods. It just came to me. I didn't do any study, but whatever it was, educated guess, you call it what it was or is, and it worked.
Well, what you had working for you is the biggest drug in the body, which is your brain. If you can visualize and think positively and know that you're going to succeed, the brain is the biggest drug there is. And if you were going through your whole process saying, this isn't going to work, I'm not going to lose this weight, I'm never going to feel better, I'm going to die in a year, your thoughts determine your life. basically.
You know, I mean, that's what I said. I had such a rage inside me because
Right.
of what happened. And I've got friends that are getting bigger. Their type 2 diabetes is eating them alive. Look, I had to take medical courses when I was in grad school, and you know, it may sound strange, but you know, we talked about in rehabilitation medicine, hey, your toes come off, half your foot, your ankle, your knee, up to your hip if you live that long. That's a hell of a way to have to live.
Right.
Or a hell
Especially
of a
if you
way-
can do something about it.
Yeah, or a hell of a way to have to die. I listened
Right.
to Fox News the other night, and they had a medical doctor on there. It says, choose the way you want to die.
That's exactly right.
And-
You don't want to be in a nursing home?
Yeah,
Eat the
you don't
right
wanna-
food.
Yeah, and to die one step at a time, because you don't understand, you can do something about it. And, you know, but a lot of people are lazy, and like you said, maybe uneducated. But I was never educated in this.
And not ignorant.
I wasn't
They're
ignorant.
just not
I
educated.
wasn't educated.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that it just, some things come to you that maybe it was back in my head for years, and finally, hey, it evolved, and this is what I have to do to save my life.
Yeah.
And, you know, that I wish other people get on it. I have a friend that I gave the diet to. His blood pressure was like 190 over 90 or whatever. He was telling me about it. I can't remember
Too high.
exactly. It was way too high, and I heard him calling on the radio, and he was saying it was like 110 over 60, and his doctor said, you have saved your life. You know, and he just followed. He said, John, it's a new way of living. It's a new way of, you know, and I feel so much better. I just can't believe that all this stuff was hidden. You opened it up for me. You gave me a chance to do this. You made it simple. It's just step after step what to do, and it worked.
Well, the paradigm that we're in obviously doesn't work. I mean, this country spends more money on healthcare than any other country in the world, and we have not much to show for it. We've come to rely on the fact that there's always going to be a drug to save us, and there's not. I mean, your friend can tell you that. You know, with mounting blood pressure, it's another drug, and next thing you know, you're on 7 drugs, as many Americans are after the age of 65, which is not the answer. It's about getting back to basics and what nature has provided for us.
Well, you know, I look at the body as kind of like
It can do anything.
yeah, it's a self-healing, self-working machine that if we provide it with the right ingredients, it
Right.
will take care of. If something disintegrates here, we can give it more of the energy, the food that goes into it. We let it down with sugar, hey, it slows us down. You know, I don't even eat sugar. I don't drink sweet tea anymore. You know, my wife would pour a lot of sugar in that thing. I don't drink the colas anymore.
Sugar causes inflammation in the body.
So, you know, that, and I have a lot more energy. People get, hey, try this. It's a sweetened drink. It'll give you energy. I found out it slows you down. You know, it may sleep somebody, I don't know.
A lot of those sugary drinks deplete your B vitamins. They deplete the nutrients your body needs to be healthy. You know, we eat between 150 and 175 pounds of sugar a year per person, which is far too high.
Yeah, and
100
probably,
years ago, we ate 5 to 10. Were you taking any drugs for your ulcerative colitis?
Yes.
Or were you taking drugs, even other drugs besides ulcerative colitis drugs?
No, I was taking Asacol, and my doctor said that, you know, on this diet, he said, John, make sure you take a multivitamin every day. So I don't consider those drugs, I don't think.
No, that's not a drug.
But anyway.
You're just making up for what's not in the food supply anymore.
Right, or whatever's missed out that I could have something in there to kind of count on.
That's why
if
it's
that's
a
what-
supplement.
Yeah, you know, when you.
It's not a drug, though.
They said, you know, that I take the Century ones because they're over 50 or whatever.
Right.
So, you know, I take one of those a day, but I was taking Asacol twice a day, 2 tablets of 400 milligrams apiece. And actually, when I had the second colonoscopy that my daughter set up, and they found out I didn't have ulcerative colitis, he said, quit taking the medicine.
Yeah.
Well, every 6 months when I was taking the medicine, they would say, take a liver function test. Now, from my understanding is you can't go without a liver.
Right.
And, you know, that I felt it was really important for me to have that liver function test to make sure everything's all right. Because I talked to some of my other friends that, you know, when you find out you have a disease, you find out other people who might have it, and you try to find out, okay, what's in store for me? How have you lived through it? Have you been to the hospital? No, never been to the hospital. I said, how come I get to go to the hospital and go to the hospital twice? You know, and I feel like I'm dying each time. And I've never been. They just said I had it. Well, I said, have you had a liver function test? No, doctor didn't say anything about it. So I guess different doctors look at things differently, and maybe some of them just don't have the knowledge of those particular diseases or whatever. And you know, that I said, you know, you need to ask some questions. I said, when I found out about it, I got on the internet, I got books, I tried to find out, okay, what's expected of me? What do I need to do to fight my disease?
You can't be a passive participant.
No.
You have to be actively involved in your own treatment plan.
And you have to find a doctor that'll work with you, because the more you find out about it, the more questions you need to ask. Because look, I told one doctor, I said, I'm not the expert. I said, I want you to tell me. I said, I have no clue about what to expect next. And when he says, I don't have time to talk to you, I said, I'm paying you big bucks. And he said, well, I don't have time to talk to you. Perhaps you need to find another gastroenterologist. And I said, no, I'd rather stay here. Well, anyway, so my daughter...
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, and that sentiment is not infrequently echoed by patients.
Right.
You know, they want answers.
Yeah, and you need answers for these diseases and whatever, and you need to find out. I mean, if my doctor would have known, said, well, you know, if you'd eat these foods, it could go away.
Right.
Well, just think that, what if you had Crohn's disease? Could it go away too?
It can.
Ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease are just like kissing cousins, you know. And now the drug companies wouldn't like it. I mean, my Isocol on the market is like $450 a month for what I had to pay. And I said, you know, are they looking for better? If they just say you eat this and this and this as a normal diet, it would go away? No, they're not going to tell you that. They're out selling drugs.
Sure. Yeah, we've come to rely heavily on the pharmaceutical companies, which, you know, they have a fiduciary responsibility to earn a profit for their shareholders. And I can tell you that their goal is not to cure all disease. As you said, they put themselves out of business. I mean, that's a whole different topic itself.
Well, what really scares me, I looked at all the side effects, even of the drug that I took. And, you know, there were some really bad side effects. And then I had this one company that kept sending me information. And, oh, my gosh, you don't do it once a year, you know? And a chance of stroke and death and all this. And I said, you know, that's not worth it.
Right.
You know, and I had no idea, like I said, I had no idea that food would make so much difference. And I know you're in the food.
It does. Well, you know, and I often have a saying, you know, a lot of what I do is what they call alternative medicine, as opposed to mainstream medicine. When in reality, I look at mainstream medicine, and what we're doing is giving people chemicals that never before existed in nature. They're fabricated in a lab. They're based on nature, but they're not found in nature. And that's what we're giving to patients to cure them or make them better. And you know, one of my favorite quotes is, you cannot chronically inhibit a key enzymatic pathway or shut off a key receptor and hope for a positive result in the long term, because you can't. Really, I think alternative medicine is probably more what we practice in mainstream medicine. Mainstream medicine should be, or as what Hippocrates said, make food your medicine and medicine your food. And until we start doing that and people start to understand that and we make those connections, we're going to continue to go down the road that we're going down.
Well, you know, my daughter is an anesthesiologist. They can't operate on people because of their obesity.
I know.
And unless it's a real emergency and they have no other choice. But because of the way
complication rates are exponential.
Right. And so, you know, you have to think, why can't people get this through their head instead of through their mouths? They can get it through their mouths, but they can't get it through their head.
Because it's not their problem. They did a poll asking people, do you eat a healthy diet? And 80% of the people in that poll said, yes, I eat a healthy diet. Yet we have an overweight rate of 70% and a national obesity rate of at least 35%. But 80% of the people said, oh yes, I eat a healthy diet. And so people don't make the connection. They don't see that.
It's like that when they fill their stomach up, it's healthy. But if you put it's like in a computer, put garbage in, you get garbage out.
There's a lot of garbage going in these days.
There's a lot of garbage going in. I believe it. I mean, I just can't believe the number of overweight and obese people that are out there when there's such a different option you don't have to take. And they think they're happy. I guess they think, I mean, they look at Santa Claus, ho, 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 and they got the Burl Ives are singing at Christmas time, and how, Santa Claus is still living with us. Is Burl Ives still here? I don't think so. But, I just use him as an example because I see so much. He must be the sexiest guy out there because so many men want to emulate his appearance.
Or not necessarily that, but people just give up eventually. They just quit. As you said, they just, I'm getting old now. Getting old is a bitch. It's just too hard, and golly, I wish it wasn't like this. Well, it doesn't have to be.
No,
prime example.
Right. I mean, I've always been like a goal-setting person. I set my goals. This is what I'm going to do, and I do those things, and I've been pretty successful. And, when I set this goal, hey, I'm going to grow hair and I'm going to lose weight, I never had any idea my hair would curl. I mean, everybody else in my family has straight hair, but mine, it starts doing some crazy things. So anyway, but I've learned to like it. And, you have to be a little bit different. People remember me better because of my hair now.
Right.
I mean,
and you're so skinny too.
Yeah, I know. And they say, hey, John, you can turn sideways in a shower and never get wet. I'm not so offended with that.
Sure,
people say, well, John, you're such an embarrassment. Look how skinny you are. And I said,
you could turn that around and say, you're really, look how fat you are.
Yeah, I know.
Of course, then
people don't want to hear that.
Then you would be considered cruel.
I know.
But they can say that to you.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I know. It's not a two-way street.
No, it's not. People don't want to face reality.
I know, and that's the cruelest thing. It's like I tell people, I said, one of my favorite, I guess, with fairy tales is Emperor's New Clothes. And as the story goes, the charlatan comes and sells the emperor the finest garments, and he's in the parade. Boy, isn't this beautiful? And some little kid comes up and says, just like he's not wearing any clothes, he's fat. Nobody else ever looked at it. Well, that's the norm. Well, every time you raise the norm for more weight,
right.
Who's going to stand up and say he's not wearing any clothes? He's fat.
Right.
America's fat.
That's insensitive.
We're lazy.
That's insensitive to say those type of things.
I don't give a flip.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the bottom line is nobody's going to save you but you.
That's right.
Your doctor's not going to save you.
No.
Your spouse isn't going to save you. Your friends aren't going to save you. It's up to you to save yourself.
You have to get mad, like mad as hell, and say, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. I don't have to be this way. I can have the energy, the sex drive, the things I need I can fulfill my life. I don't have to sit back and take it.
Right.
I can dish some things out.
Right. You can. Well, people often don't have the self-confidence to think that they're intelligent enough. I see people all the time defer to me because I'm a doctor. Well, you're the doctor. You know better. Well, nobody knows your body better than you.
I mean, who's lived in it longer than you?
Exactly. But see, people don't place the confidence in themselves that I can do this. I'm capable of this, right. and they are. Everybody is. Well, they just have to have that inner voice.
Well, when I taught school, I made it simple for kids to pass. I made it impossible, basically, to fail. I made it, I did a step-by-step process where every kid can be successful. I mean, you had to go way out of your way.
If they chose to.
Yeah, I mean, you had to go way out of your way because I stayed on them to do it. I mean, that I wanted the kids to succeed so bad that, I stayed on them. And, but that's the way I felt. I just had this thing for our next generation, this generation had to succeed. And if you don't, the next generation, they just keep bringing failure. And it's the same way with foods and stuff. Our health. That we're we're not taking it seriously. You know, it's like, you know, Christianity is only good for one generation, because if you don't teach it, it's lost. It's the same thing too with any religion, any type of health thing. We have to pass on what we know and what's good about it to the next generation. And if it's not there, then it's lost. And, you know, it'll never be refound that I know of. I mean, because people are just so used to doing something else. It'll just be out of their lives. And look at the value of doing something positive and encouraging others to do the same thing. You know, I think the best thing to do is encourage others to lose the weight.
Right.
You know, instead of staying back, you can stay back and do nothing and say, I've got the secret, I'm not sharing it with anybody. I mean, why should I share? I spent lots and lots of money on my plan and trying to get it out to people. You know, that, I mean, I work hard and I taught school and I don't make a lot of money. But what I do is I try to help people. I spent, you know, as a teacher, your job is to help people. I mean, that's what I thought my mission was.
Right, but people will regard you with suspicion.
Yeah,
because
I mean,
people don't trust anymore like they used to.
why would you want to help anybody? You know, I mean, that's how they look at it.
You can only help people who will help themselves.
Right. But you still have to encourage the others, though, that, hey, look, there's benefit in this. You know, you just don't know it yet. You're not there. Once it gets in your mind, once you do it, it's like the people have called me up or emailed me and said, John, you're right. You know, I didn't know. But voila, I found it. I found what you found.
You can change your life.
You know, and you can change your life, and you can feel so much better, and then you can share it with others. Take it and share. You know, but a lot of people, it's like hiding the light underneath the basket. Nobody else can have it because the light's there. You know, what good is that? You take it and share it with others. You know, it's a religious zeal.
Right. I mean, it is. It's not religion, but it's the same type of.
But it's the same type of
You
saying.
have to be
I mean,
evangelical about it.
Right. I mean, God didn't want you to sit there and not, you know, do anything. He wants you to share whatever it is.
Right.
What's good? What's good about humanity?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have our medical care is mostly sick care.
Right.
You know, you're healthy. I got nothing for you. When really we should have wellness care. You know, you're healthy. Let me help you stay healthy. See, in medicine, we're too busy trying to keep people from dying that we're not helping them with living. And we can do that. We have the technology. We have the information to help people live and be healthy and well. But we get so caught up in treating all these diseases that no one focuses on wellness as much as
Well,
they
you know,
should.
I look at yours as an orthopedic surgeon, you know. Well, you know, you should be dealing with people who break their leg in an accident and stuff.
Right.
You know, but you have people coming in, they're way overweight, their hips are going out, their knees are going out, their feet are going out, you know, and I just wonder what size shoe would a person have to have, or what size foot a person have to have that weighs as much as you do, you know? And wouldn't that be shocking?
Well, I'll tell my patients you can't run a fire engine on bicycle tires.